Okay, can you hear me, everyone? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'll share my screen. We will start a new lesson. We will take plants. We will finish plants, and then we will continue human biology. Now, some of you were sending me messages asking me for the reason. Maybe they were expecting a better grade on the exam. Maybe they were expecting a better grade, like I said. And I'm going to show you the exams when we come back from the holidays. You will see your exams and you will see your mistakes. But the problem is that a lot of you don't give complete answers. In other words, a lot of the keywords are missing. I'll give you an example. The question, for example, about the reason why the plant cell or a particular plant will go soft or floppy or increase in size.
Recording in progress.
Okay, I'm recording the session, so don't worry about that. For example, you are talking about a particular objective. You're talking about, or the question is asking you, why would the plant or the potato decrease in size? Okay, and this question is out of 3 marks. Again, I keep on telling you, if it's out of 3 marks, then you have to write a lot of information. 3 or above, you need to write all the keywords. Now, the keywords that were requested in this sentence or in this question were 3 keywords. Number 1, the reason why, for example, the potato decreased in size, because it lost water. It lost water. Of course, the moment you mentioned that water moved in and out, you had to mention or write the word osmosis. It lost water by osmosis down a concentration gradient across a semi-permeable membrane. This is 1 mark. The second mark, you will have to mention that the vacuole will shrink and you have to write the word flaccid or plasmolysis. And when the water goes out, it will decrease in turgor pressure or turgid pressure. Write it in any order. It lost water, so the turgid pressure decreased, so it became flaccid. Those 3 keywords, they had to be in the answer. If you don't mention the 3 keywords, you lose a mark or you lose 2 marks. It depends what is present and what is not present. You don't understand this point. This is how they grade your answers. They look for the keywords. Maybe you will write a correct answer, but it is not going to be complete because you did not include the word flaccid and you did not include the point turgid pressure. A lot of you will say that the potato lost water, so it will decrease in size. This is correct, but you take 1 out of 3. You lose 2 marks because you did not mention the keywords. This is so important, and this is what makes you lose marks from all the questions, and then they add up, and then you will not be happy with your grade. You don't realize how exactly do they grade you, even though I keep on telling you this is how they do it, and you don't believe me. If you want to know the keywords, then you ask me, what are the keywords? The keywords are in your notes, and they are in bold. So I will tell you exactly how to study. I did not start yet. I'm just answering your questions because I received a lot of questions. 1 minute. Where am I? I'm here. Are you with me? Can you all hear me well? Hello?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to just answer this question and then I'm going to start immediately. For example, you are asking me, what are the keywords? If you open your notes, especially year 10 notes, because this is what you have to focus on before paper 4, for example. Let's say I'm going to study the lesson, for example, reproduction, okay? Now, you have the objective adjacent to the point, like here it says, 3, discuss the advantages and disadvantages of asexual reproduction, A, to a population of species in the wild, B, to crop population, etc., etc. This is your syllabus. 1 minute, let me use my pen. Here, this is the syllabus. These are the objectives that you should know in the syllabus. Now, going backwards, yes. Now, I want to study this part. Okay, go to, for example, the definition of a diploid cell. A cell that contains two sets of paired chromosomes. And this is in bold. As long as you see something in bold, then this is exactly what you have to write. This is the keyword, two sets of paired chromosomes. Fine? And that's the case for any other objective. Any other objective, if you see something in bold, then you have to know that that is the keyword. And this keyword means that it has to be there in the answer so that you get the whole answer. I hope I'm clear. Okay, we'll go back to this later before paper 4. Let's just start the lesson because I want to start the lesson. So I'm going to okay, today we will start plants. These are two lessons in one, plant nutrition and transport in plants. And this is a very easy lesson. And this lesson is very important, especially in paper 6. You will find lots of questions about plants in paper 6. Really, really easy lesson, but it's really important. Okay, we will start. When we study plants, the first thing you will study, of course, is the equation for photosynthesis. And for year 10, you have to know the balanced equation. Now, photosynthesis, I expect you all to know it. Photosynthesis, this is the method the plants use in order to make their own food, because plants are producers. In other words, they make their own food. Now, photosynthesis includes carbon dioxide that comes from the atmosphere, from the air, plus water. Water, of course, is absorbed from the soil in the presence of light and in the presence of chlorophyll in order to give you glucose and oxygen. Now, I expect you to know this word equation, but you have to know the balanced chemical equation. Carbon dioxide is CO2. What is water? What is the formula for water? Wake up with me. Hello? Water is H2O.
H2O.
Yes. To give me light and chlorophyll. Now, glucose. A lot of you know also the formula for glucose. I'm sure you took it in chemistry. Glucose is this formula. C6 H12O6. Okay? And plus oxygen, of course, oxygen is a diatomic molecule, O2. Now, this is the formula. Carbon dioxide plus water in the presence of light and chlorophyll to give me glucose and to give me oxygen. Now, did you take balancing in chemistry?
Yes.
Okay, if you did not take balancing in chemistry, balancing, this means the number of molecules have to be the same. So I'm not going to explain balancing now, but this is photosynthesis. Carbon dioxide plus water will give me glucose. Who will remind me, what's the formula for glucose?
C6
H12
H12 O2
O6 plus glucose plus what? Oxygen. Don't forget, this is the word equation for photosynthesis. This equation is not correct because it is not balanced, and we need to write two things over the arrow, two things that are essential for photosynthesis to take place. So help me. What are the two things that must be present over the arrow? What is essential
Light.
for
light.
light? Very good. And
Chlorophyll.
chloroplasts. Good. Now let's stop here. What are chloroplasts? And what's the difference between chloroplast and chlorophyll?
Chloroplast is an organelle in the cell.
Very good. Now, if I will draw my plant cell and clearly draw the cell wall, this is my nucleus and a large permanent vacuole. You should know this by now. I'll change color and I'm going to use the color green because I'm going to draw organelles called what? Chloroplast. Chloroplast. Inside the chloroplast, I have a green pigment called what?
Chlorophyll.
Chlorophyll. And what is the function of the chlorophyll and the chloroplast? What do they trap?
Sunlight.
Very good. Their function is to trap the sunlight. When the light is trapped, This light will be the catalyst, or this will be the factor that will make or allow photosynthesis to take place. The light is going to combine the carbon dioxide and the water to give us glucose and oxygen. Okay, now what is the energy in light? It's light energy. This light energy will be converted to glucose. What is the energy in the glucose? This is a little bit of physics. What's the energy
Chemical.
found in your food? Chemical energy. Very good. Now, why am I asking you all these questions? Because we have a new definition for photosynthesis that you will study for year 10. Photosynthesis, if you are asked to define photosynthesis, you have to, or you are expected now to write down the balanced chemical equation for photosynthesis. We still did not balance it. And another definition, professional definition for photosynthesis, it is the conversion of light energy to which type of energy?
Chemical energy.
Chemical energy. In case you're confused, chemical energy is stored energy that is found in your food. Any energy that is stored is considered chemical energy. For example, the energy found in your food. So the light will combine the carbon dioxide and the water to give us glucose, which is stored energy, which is an example of chemical energy. And then we eat this glucose, and this energy is transferred along the food chain when we study ecology. Okay, help me balance this equation. This equation is not balanced. Let me write it again. Carbon dioxide plus water will give me glucose, C6H12O6. This is the first thing that you need to study when you come to study this lesson. The balanced chemical equation. Light and chlorophyll is needed for photosynthesis. Okay, who will help me balance this chemical equation? It's very easy to balance it.
You have to put a 6 in front on the CO2.
Yes, I'm going to teach you a very easy way. Leave the glucose alone. This is the glucose. We will not put any numbers or any, it's called a coefficient, by the way. We will not put any coefficient before the glucose. We will put the same coefficient before the carbohydrate and the water and the oxygen, which is 6, just like your friend said. So 6 here and 6 here and 6 here, and nothing before the glucose. So you are going to study the balanced chemical equation. Carbon dioxide, I wrote it 3 times here, plus water will give me glucose, C6H12O6 plus oxygen. I will write above the arrow light, because light is needed in photosynthesis, and chlorophyll. And I'm going to use the letter 6 before the carbon dioxide, and 6 before the water, and 6 before the oxygen. Nothing before the glucose. Leave the glucose alone. So then you will balance the what? The equation. Carbon dioxide comes from the atmosphere, water from the soil, and glucose and oxygen. Okay, now going back to the definition, because the definition is important. These definitions here, they are in red and they're bold, so please memorize them the way they are. Photosynthesis is the process by which plants manufacture carbohydrates from raw materials using energy from light. This definition is very important. This is the process by which light energy is converted to which type of energy? Chemical energy. Okay? The light energy is converted into chemical energy in the bonds holding together the atoms and the glucose molecules. Now, I don't want you to get confused. The glucose is C6H12O6. You are not requested to know the molecular formula for glucose, but if you take biology in year 11 and 12, you will study the molecular formula for glucose. It looks like this. Now, this is a glucose molecule. This glucose molecule gives you energy. When does it give you energy? In which chemical process glucose is converted to energy? Come on, tell me. Yes, in respiration, because we will study respiration next. Now, what happens exactly is that the bonds within the glucose molecules are broken. When these bonds in chemistry, when any bond is broken, these broken bonds give me energy. I am not asking you to study the molecular structure. I'm just asking you to understand that any chemical bond in chemistry, when it's broken, it releases energy. And this is from where you will understand this definition. The definition that says here, light energy is converted into chemical energy in the bonds holding together the atoms in the glucose molecules. Okay, please understand that these definitions, they come directly from your books. They're not made up. Good? When these bonds are broken, they release energy. Any questions about the equation? Any questions about the photosynthesis and the balancing? I don't think anything is hard about that. Now, the glucose that is produced in photosynthesis, does it stay in this format, glucose? Does it stay inside the plant as glucose? It doesn't. So we want to know now, what is the fate of the glucose? Photosynthesis produces glucose. Glucose does not stay as glucose inside the plant. We need to know why. Who can guess why glucose is quickly converted into other forms?
For energy or respiration?
Yes, these are the reasons glucose will be converted, because it can give us energy, because it can be stored, etc., etc. But can you imagine a plant cell that is filled with glucose? What will happen to this plant cell? So much glucose, so much glucose, so much glucose. This will make the plant cell what?
Water potential will decrease.
Will decrease. Excellent. It will make the
Water
plant cell
potential
very
will
concentrated.
decrease.
Exactly. Glucose is very soluble. It dissolves in water very quickly. And glucose is very reactive. Glucose, if it stays inside the plant cell will be very concentrated. Just like you said, the water potential of the plant cell will decrease. In other words, the amount of water inside the plant cell will decrease. So glucose, the moment it is produced in photosynthesis, it is converted. Now, it is converted into what? It is either converted into sucrose or starch or proteins or fats. And you need to know when it is converted into starch and sucrose and proteins and fats. It is converted into sucrose if it will be transported around the plant. So it is going to be converted into sucrose for transport. If glucose will be stored, it will be stored in the form of what?
Starch.
Yes. So glucose will be converted to starch only for storage. If we need some proteins, then glucose plus nitrates, glucose will combine with other molecules, specifically nitrates, to make proteins. And glucose, when they are stored in the seeds, like the nuts, you know, the nuts that you eat, the almonds, these nuts, these are filled with fats. Glucose will be converted into fats and they will be stored in the fruit or in the nuts. Okay, so what are we studying? We are studying photosynthesis. It's really, really easy. And we have to know the balanced chemical equation. Carbon dioxide plus water will give me glucose, C6H12O6 plus oxygen. This is not balanced. I will put 6 before the CO2 and 6 before the oxygen, and I will leave the glucose alone, and I will put the 6 before the oxygen here. And this equation also is not 100% perfect. I have to write light above the arrow and chlorophyll, because photosynthesis cannot happen without light. Okay? Now, glucose is the final product, but glucose is quickly converted. Why is it quickly converted? Because glucose is what?
Soluble.
It is very soluble in water and it is very reactive. So it cannot stay inside the plant in that form. It's going to make the plant cell very concentrated. It will reduce the water potential inside the plant cell. So the glucose is converted quickly into so many different things. It is either used up in respiration, or it is converted into sucrose, which is a disaccharide, which is another form of sugar, Sucrose is also soluble in water, but it is less reactive than glucose. And glucose is converted to sucrose when it will be what? For what?
Transportation.
Very good, for transport. So I want to transport the glucose around the plant. It will be transported as sucrose. So it is going to be transported into sucrose for transport. If I want to store it, it will be stored as
Starch.
starch. Now, starch, you have to know, of course, that it is insoluble in water. So it will not affect the water potential inside the cell. And it is unreactive. It will just take up some space, but it will not react. It will not dissolve in water. It will not destroy or affect the osmotic potential inside the cell. Nothing. Glucose plus nitrates will give me what? Proteins. And if the glucose will be stored also, it can be stored as fats, especially inside nuts or seeds. Or the glucose will be used in respiration to give me energy. Anything hard about what I said? Anything hard? And this energy, of course, can be used for growth, for cell division, to make nectar, for any reason. Any questions before I move on? Okay, now we studied photosynthesis and how plants make their own food and how does the glucose convert into other things. Now, the structure of the plant. Now, this is so easy. I'll read it very quickly. The plant is made up of roots and leaves and flowers and stems. Now, this is, I think, basic stuff. The roots to absorb water and to hold it in the soil. The leaf is the main site of photosynthesis. And the flowers, now, what are the flowers used for? Flowers, why are they important?
Reproduction. Reproductive organs.
Yes, these are the reproductive organs to make seeds and fruits, and the stem, of course, to hold it in place also and to carry water and nutrients, etc., etc. This is too easy. Now this, please, when you see something like this, do not ignore it because you will be asked to draw a leaf and the different layers of the leaf in paper 6. Okay, now you can be asked to draw something like this, as simple as that, and out of 4 marks. So let's draw it together. These are the different, yes, Ali.
لا بالغلط معلش يا مس.
Okay, no problem. Now, if you have a pen and a paper, I highly advise you to draw it and to label. We will draw a nice leaf like this, very easy. Fine. Now, the labeling part, this central branch here is called the midrib or the vein. It can also be called vein in plants. And here is the petiole. Before you ask me, this petiole will connect it to the stem. And those parts between the veins are called the lamina. And you have the tip and the margin. Very easy. Now, we will discuss the veins now in a minute. I think we took the xylem in the first lesson when we talked about specialized cells. What is the function of the xylem?
Transport of water. Transportation of water.
Yes, transport of water. Okay, now, this is too easy. I'm not going to waste any more time on that. What are we going to study next? We will study the different layers inside the leaf. By the way, this is all core. I know some of you did not take it before, but some of you are familiar. Now, let's get the whiteboard again because I like to scribble. Let's first talk about the leaf. Now, the leaf, is it an organ or a tissue, or what is it considered in a plant?
Organ. Organ.
It's an organ. And any organ is made up of different what? Wake up with me.
Tissues.
Different tissues. Okay, now what are the tissues in a plant? Now, if you have a pen and a paper, draw with me, even if you took it before so that you can remember. What are we going to draw? We are going to draw the different layers inside the leaf. We will draw this structure, the one you see here, all these structures. We will draw it and we will label it. This is a very important picture. Now, let's use this diagram first. This is the inside of the leaf. It is as if I cut through the leaf and I'm going to look inside. It is made up of different tissues, different tissue layers. The first layer is called the what? Who remembers?
Epidermis.
Yes, this is the upper epidermis. Epidermis. Please, those that did not take this before, pay attention with me. The upper layer of the leaf is called the upper epidermis. Now, the upper epidermis, as you can see, these cells are not colored in green. So do you think it contains chlorophyll or it does not contain chlorophyll?
It does not contain chlorophyll.
It does not contain chlorophyll. They are not brown in color, like the diagram here. On the contrary, they are transparent. Now, what are the functions of the upper epidermis? Who will remind me?
It's a protective layer.
Yes, it does provide protection. And what does it produce?
Waxy cuticle.
Yes, it produces the waxy cuticle. Okay, those who are new, please pay attention. We have different layers inside the leaf. The first layer is this brown layer. These are made up of typical plant cells, but they do not have any chlorophyll. What is their function? This is the upper epidermis. 1, protection. 2,
It
they
allows light
produce,
to pass through.
excuse me?
It allows light to pass through.
Yes, correct. Very correct. Now, the upper epidermis, it provides protection. It produces this waxy cuticle. Now, if you don't know what is the waxy cuticle, I don't know if you have plants in your garden or in the window or wherever. Plants, usually the surface of the leaf is sometimes oily. Okay, I don't know if you noticed that. This oily layer is called the waxy cuticle, and this layer is produced by the upper epidermis, and it also provides protection. Okay, so the functions of the upper epidermis, 3 functions. 1, protection. 2, it produces this waxy cuticle, and the cuticle itself provides protection and prevents excessive evaporation of water. And the third function, your friend just said it. This upper epidermis and this waxy cuticle, what is their color?
Transparent.
Yes, they are transparent. They are without color. Now, why are they transparent?
To allow light to pass through.
Yes. Now, imagine with me. Imagine we have chlorophyll in the upper layer. This chlorophyll will trap or will absorb the light. If the light is absorbed by the upper layer, the light will not be able to penetrate inside the plant. So the waxy cuticle and the upper epidermis, they are both transparent. And this is made in order to allow the light to penetrate into the deeper layers of the leaf. We want the light to enter the middle layer of the leaf, which is called the mesophyll layer. So we are still in the upper layer, the uppermost layer. The upper layer of the plant is made up of typical rectangular plant cells that are not green because they have no chlorophyll. They are transparent. They have 3 functions. 1, protection. 2, they produce the waxy cuticle, this oily layer on the surface of the leaf. And 3, they are what? Wake up with me. This is very easy information. They are transparent to allow the penetration of light into the deeper layers of the leaf. Okay, the middle layer of the leaf, what is it called? This green part, is this called the wake up mesophyll layer. Now, the mesophyll layer, this is the most important layer of the leaf because as you can see, it is colored in what?
Green.
This means this is the layer that has the highest amount of chloroplasts. So this is the layer where most of the photosynthesis takes place. Now this layer, this central mesophyll layer, is divided into 2 parts. You have cells, if you notice, that are columnar, rectangular, and they are fused or tightly packed with each other. This layer is called the palisade mesophyll. Palisade in Latin English means rectangular. They are rectangular cells that are fused to each other. They're called the palisade mesophyll layer. And this is the cell that we studied in the first lesson, because this palisade mesophyll layer is a specialized cell. Below this palisade mesophyll layer, there is a spongy mesophyll layer. Why did they call it spongy? Look at the cells. Are these cells tall and columnar?
No.
No, they have an irregular shape and they are nearly circular. This layer is called the spongy mesophyll layer. And again, these two layers, they have only one function. What is their function?
Photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis, exactly. They are filled with chlorophyll and they are arranged in such a way to absorb sunlight, and their function, only one function, photosynthesis. Now, I want you to notice the spongy mesophyll layer. What are these?
Air spaces.
Yes. When you come to describe the spongy mesophyll layer, you will mention or describe them by saying that they are irregular. Are they tightly packed or they are loosely packed? Tightly or loosely packed? They are loosely
Loosely
packed. In other words, they're not fused together like the palisade mesophyll. They have many air spaces. And what is the function of those air spaces? What do you think?
To allow gases to pass through them.
Exactly. They allow for gas exchange. They allow gases to pass through them. And the more the air spaces, the more the surface area and the more the exchange of gases. So this is the middle layer. Now, in the center of the middle layer, what do we see? What is this?
The vein.
Yes, the vein. Very good. This is called the transport tissue. The transport tissue inside the plant. As you can see, this transport tissue is composed of how many tissues? Come on, the xylem and the phloem. Let's leave the xylem and the phloem for now. We will study it in the lesson transport in plants. So we are done with the first layer, with the middle layer, and then we have the last layer. This last layer is also called the lower what?
Epidermis.
Again, we can see that they are colored in brown. So do they contain chloroplasts?
No.
No, they don't contain chloroplasts, but sometimes we can see openings called the what?
Air
Stomata. And these stomata are controlled by two cells on either side that are green in color, and they're called the guard cells. These guard cells, what's their function? They control the opening and the closure of the stomata. Let's look at other pictures. You have to be able to identify those pictures. This is a cross section inside the leaf. We are looking inside the leaf. This leaf is an organ. We are looking inside the leaf. It's an organ made up of different tissues. The upper epidermis and the lower epidermis is one tissue. The middle layer, the mesophyll layer, is another tissue. We have the xylem and the phloem, which is the transport tissue. They make up the transport tissue. That is why it's an organ made up of different tissues. The epidermal tissue, the upper epidermis and the lower epidermis, the mesophyll tissue made up of the palisade mesophyll and the spongy mesophyll, and the xylem and the phloem. This is the upper epidermis here, the upper layer. It is not containing any chloroplasts. It has three functions: protection. It produces the what? Wake up with me. It produces the waxy cuticle, and it is not green. What color is it?
Transparent.
Transparent, to allow for the penetration of
Light.
into the middle layers. The middle layers are called the mesophyll layer, which is divided into the
Palisade mesophyll and spongy mesophyll.
spongy mesophyll. Again, for the newcomers, especially the newcomers who did not hear this before, the palisade mesophyll is right there. It's made up of tall, columnar, cuboidal plant cells that are tightly packed, and they're filled with chloroplasts. This is the only function: photosynthesis, photosynthesis. Below them, I have the spongy mesophyll. Irregular cells with air spaces. Yes, they do photosynthesis, but they're not tightly packed like the palisade mesophyll. They have lots of air spaces to allow for the movement of gases, carbon dioxide and oxygen. More air spaces and more stomata means more surface area and more gas exchange. And then I have the lower epidermis. See, it is transparent. It does not have any chlorophyll, but sometimes I have an opening here. What is this opening? The stomata that allows for the exchange of gases. Now, who will control the opening and the closure of the stomata?
Guard cell.
Guard cells, two kidney-shaped cells adjacent to the stomata. And the guard cells, they contain chlorophyll. Guard cells. These two kidney-shaped cells, they control the opening and the closure of the stomata. Now, for year 10, they focus on the stomata. This is supplement material. The stomata is never closed 100%, but it is widely open in the morning or at night. What do you think?
The morning.
Yes, stomata is widely open when there is light. Now we will solve a lot of questions, paper 2 and paper 6, that are very confusing. And they always give you experiments with a plant in the darkness and plant in the light. The moment you see a small plant in the light, then please understand that it is doing photosynthesis. The moment you see a small plant, this is a test tube, for example, and they will put a leaf, and then this leaf is exposed to light, and they will get another test tube with a small plant, but this test tube is put in the darkness. And then they will give you a lot of questions. The moment you know that, or you see that a plant is exposed to the light, so this plant will be doing mainly photosynthesis or respiration?
Photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis. Don't tell me it is not respiring. It is respiring the whole time. But when there is light, the rate of photosynthesis will be much higher than the rate of respiration. When the plant is placed in the darkness, can it do any photosynthesis?
No.
Any photosynthesis in the dark? No photosynthesis at all. No photosynthesis in the dark. So in the dark, the plant is not dead, it is respiring. Okay? Now, during the light, it is doing photosynthesis, and these stomata are widely open. Stomata are widely open. Always put this in mind, because this will solve or fix lots of confusions when we come to solve paper 2 and paper 6. Now, we will study the guard cells and the stomata. These guard cells and the stomata, this is supplement material, because you need to know how exactly the guard cell controls the opening and the closure of the stomata. Some of you get confused between both. The stomata is the opening. This is the stomata. Okay, this is the opening. Here is the stomata when it is open. Here is the stomata when it is closed. So the stomata, we said it is open when there is sunlight. Now the question is why? I'll tell
allow
you.
gas exchange.
To allow gas exchange, of course, but for the supplement material, you need to know how. Okay, this picture hopefully will try to explain things. Now let's assume these particles or these molecules are water molecules. When the water moves inside the guard cell, what happens to the guard cell? It becomes, someone said the word.
Turgid.
Very good. When the water enters inside the plant cell, I want you to focus with these molecules. These are water molecules, okay? The water will go in. Now it is going in. When the water goes inside and fills the vacuole, the turgid pressure will increase and it will become nice and turgid, and it will curve outwards. The guard cells, they curve outwards. When they curve outwards, what do they do to the stomata? They open it or they close it?
Open it.
Huh? Open or closed?
Open it.
They open it. Exactly. Very, very good. Now, what happens when the water leaves the guard cell?
Becomes flaccid.
It becomes flaccid. Okay, let me try to explain this a little bit more. I have guard cells. These guard cells are either mainly, usually they're found in the lower epidermis, but sometimes it's found in the upper and the lower. These guard cells, they control the opening and the closure of this opening. What's this opening called? stomata, okay? Guard cells, they are usually found in the lower epidermis, and these are the only cells that contain chlorophyll. So I'm going to draw those green organelles here. We want to know how do they open and close the stomata. In the morning, when there is sun and there is photosynthesis, photosynthesis makes the plant absorb water or release water. Think about
Absorb.
it. Absorb water. In case you're confused, go back always to the equation for photosynthesis. Carbon dioxide plus water will give us glucose, C6H12O6 plus oxygen. I want to balance, I will leave the glucose alone. I will put a coefficient of 6 before the oxygen here, before the water, and before the CO2. So it's very obvious that in photosynthesis, while the plant is photosynthesizing, it is absorbing water. Okay, so water will be absorbed and it will enter inside the guard cell. When the plant, any plant absorbs water, what happens to the vacuole?
Swell.
Yes, Hadiya, what happens to the vacuole when you absorb water?
It increases in size and produces
Very
turgid pressure.
excellent. So the guard cell will be turgid. Now, the guard cell has two layers, as you can see. It has an outer layer and it has an inner layer. This outer layer is longer and the inner layer, it is shorter and thicker. When the guard cell is filled with water, it will curve outwards. It will do this. When it curves outwards, what opens? What will open? The stomata. That is why the stomata is always open in the morning. So this is a very nice essay question. And it's really common. And it's out of minimum 3 or 4 marks. And we don't want to lose any mark. So the reason why stomata is open in the morning, because in the morning, when I have sunlight, the plant is doing what? What did you say?
Photosynthesis.
Very good. So you will mention photosynthesis. This is 1 mark. And write the balanced chemical equation. Now you are year 10. You don't write the word equation. You always write the balanced chemical equation now. Photosynthesis means water will be absorbed. Water will enter, of course, the moment you mention water, right, it will enter by osmosis down a concentration gradient across a semi-permeable membrane. It will enter, it will fill the vacuole. The vacuole will be turgid. This is another keyword. When it's turgid, it will allow or make the guard cells curve outwards. When it curves outwards, this will make the stomata open.
Open.
Finished. And you will take all the 3 or 4 marks. Yes, Hadiya, you have a question?
Why do the guard cells contain chloroplast?
No, you will answer this question. Can it do photosynthesis without chloroplast?
No, because it needs the chlorophyll.
Exactly. We need the chloroplast because we need to do photosynthesis, because we need to absorb water, because we want to be turgid, because we want to curve outwards, and we want to open. Did you understand, Hadiya, your question?
No.
No?
Osmosis
Okay.
doesn't require energy, right?
What did you say, my dear?
Osmosis doesn't require energy.
Who mentioned energy now? Did I mention energy? You are asking me why guard cells need chlorophyll. Can someone give her an answer? Chlorophyll is needed for what?
For photosynthesis.
For photosynthesis. Guard cells, when they do photosynthesis, what are they absorbing? What are they taking in to make them
Light
turgid?
and
I get it.
Okay, you got it, my dear? Okay, your question, by the way, can be an essay question also, because it's the same answer. So I hope you understand and realize that they can get you different questions of different formats, but the answer is the same. So they can ask you a direct question. Why are the stomata open in the morning? Or they can ask you the question that you just asked. Why do guard cells need chloroplasts? because without the chloroplast, they will not be able to photosynthesize. If they don't photosynthesize, they will not be able to absorb water. If they don't absorb water, they will not be turgid. They will not be turgid, they will not curve outwards, they will not open. We want them to open and close. We want them to open in the morning and close at night. Okay, Hadiya?
Okay.
Okay, now stay with me because I want you to answer the opposite question. Why don't we photosynthesize at night? Or how does the guard cell close these stomata at night?
Because there's no light.
There is no light.
There's no
Okay.
light, so photosynthesis can't occur.
Okay, so no photosynthesis, very good. So does the
So
guard cell
the water
absorb
is not
water or
absorbed
does not
anymore.
absorb water? Very good, no water, no absorption of water. The water goes out. When it goes out, what happens to the guard cell? Does it become turgid and swollen or it becomes flaccid?
Flaccid.
Flaccid. And when it becomes flaccid, does it curve outwards or it does not curve outwards?
Does not curve out.
It does not. It will fall. Okay, now I don't know. Do you understand? Do you all understand this part? Who does not understand? Hello? Who does not understand? Okay, I have this feeling that not all of you get it. So I'm going to do something, but I do not want you to be surprised. I'm going to open the camera and I'm going to show you how the guard cell will open and close. So suddenly you'll find me in front of you and don't be surprised, okay? Can you see me now? Hello? No, you can't. 1 minute. Okay. Look, can you see me now? I'm here. Can you see me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, 1 minute. It's too dark. Okay, can you see me now? Now, why did I switch on the camera? Because I want to show you my hands. This is the guard cell. When it absorbs water and it curves outwards, it will do this. And when it loses water and becomes flaccid, it will do this. Do you understand now how it opens and closes these stomata? When it absorbs water during photosynthesis in the morning, it will curve outwards. When it curves outwards, what happens? It opens or closes? What do you see?
Opens.
It opens. And when it loses water, it will become flaccid. What happens when it becomes flaccid? It will open or close?
Too close.
Close. So if you did not understand and it wasn't clear, remember me doing this. My hands represent the two guard cells. They are bean-shaped cells, right and left the stomata. The stomata is the opening, okay? When it absorbs water, it will curve outwards and open. I think you can see me, see? And then when it loses water, it will close. Better now? Any questions?
Doctor, then how come the stomata never closes 100%?
Because when it closes, there's still a small slit. Can you see the small slit?
Nice.
Okay, can you see the small slit? So either it is wide open in the morning or it's closed. I will absorb water and curve outwards. I think it's easy now and understood. Or I will lose water and become flaccid. Okay? Better? Okay, can I?
Yes.
Bye-bye. Okay. Fine. Now I hope it's clear because this objective is important. It's a common one. So going back to my PowerPoint. Okay. Fine. So this part in the lesson is talking about the different layers. These different layers are very important. We'll go back to them again. Okay. The first layer is the upper epidermis. We said transparent to allow the penetration of light, produces the waxy cuticle for protection. we have the palisade mesophyll layer made up of tall columnar cells that contain lots of chloroplasts. We have the spongy mesophyll layer that are irregular, and they also contain chloroplasts. And the lower epidermis is also transparent and does not have chlorophyll. The chlorophyll is only present at the guard cells that open and close the stomata. And I think now we know how it does that. Now we'll go back to the criteria or this objective. It's a very important objective in both core and the supplement. How are the leaves adapted for photosynthesis? So you will have here 6 points. We will read them together. They're very easy. Unfortunately, you just have to memorize them as they are. The leaves and the palisade mesophyll, they're broad and flat. And why is that? When anything is broad and flat, this increases the what? Surface area for the absorption of sunlight. As you are reading your notes, when you find a word that is in bold or underlined, then you understand that it's a keyword that has to be mentioned in the answer. The leaves are very thin. And why is this an advantage? This will make diffusion faster or slower?
Faster.
Faster, of course. Short diffusion distance, making diffusion faster. And the leaves, they contain lots of spaces and lots of stomata. This also increases the what? And helps in what? Do I have to read? It's so easy. And helps in?
Gas exchange.
Yes, I don't want to read word by word. I want you to think with me. And also leaves contains lots of chloroplasts. These chloroplasts, what do? They trap the sun. Now, these chloroplasts, where are they located now? This is important. They are located only in the areas that are most exposed to the sun. Chloroplasts are not present in the epidermal layer, and this is important. Why? Because we want the sun to reach the deeper layers of the leaf. If the chloroplast was present in the upper epidermis, then the light will stop in the upper layer. The light will not be able to penetrate into the deeper layers of the leaf. Also, we have more chloroplasts in the upper palisade layer because this is the layer that is directly exposed to the sun for maximum light exposure. So please just memorize those 6 points. And they are positioned at right angles to the sunlight for maximum exposure. Again, if the sun is falling straight on the leaf, then the palisade layer or the palisade cells, they are directed perpendicular to the sunlight for maximum absorption of sunlight. And of course, leaves, they contain a branching network of veins. These veins, they provide the water and the nutrients needed in photosynthesis. Anything hard about that? Is anything hard about what we took today? We will take only the mineral requirements and then I'll let you go. It's a very easy lesson, by the way. Is anything hard in what we said up to now? Hello? Any questions? No. Okay. Now, plants need minerals. They need nitrates. Nitrates are needed to make what inside the plant?
Protein.
Protein. Okay? Nitrates, nitrogen. And of course, you know that protein needs nitrogen. Good. Now let's leave this sentence now. We will take it in ecology. The nitrogen-fixing bacteria will we'll take it later. Glucose combined with nitrates give us protein. Plants, they need magnesium because magnesium is needed to make chlorophyll. Chlorophyll contains magnesium and nitrogen. These two ions are very important in the making of chlorophyll. Phosphorus is needed in the making of cell division, and it is also needed for the general health of the plant, for photosynthesis, respiration, storage, energy, blah, blah, blah. Potassium is needed for healthy fruits and healthy flowers. Okay? So, mineral requirements. Now, these minerals, who will absorb them? How does the plant absorb the minerals? From where? From the air?
No, from the root, the xylem.
Exactly, from the soil. Now, who will absorb them from the soil?
Root hair cells. The root.
Very good. The root hair cell. The root hair cell absorbs these minerals by which method? Osmosis or diffusion or active transport?
Active transport.
Active transport. Active transport. Active transport. Okay? Don't say diffusion. They like active transport. Of course, active transport requires energy and the living cell membrane and carrier proteins. You should know this by now. Okay, types of fertilizers. So we finish. We have natural fertilizers. Who does not know what's a fertilizer? You know what's a fertilizer? These chemicals that we add to plants so that the plants, they grow faster. Okay, we have two types of fertilizers, natural and synthetic. What are the natural fertilizers? The animal waste or compost. What is compost? Decaying animal or plant material. Anything that is decaying is good for the soil. If you have a dog or a cat, and you take the dog or the cat to a public garden and they do bathroom in the garden, this is good for the plants because wastes contain lots of decaying food and nitrates that the plants absorb and they use. Also, we have synthetic fertilizers, are called man-made or chemical fertilizers. These have advantages and disadvantages. The advantages of the chemical fertilizers is that they're good for the plants, but the disadvantages, what is the disadvantage of chemical fertilizers? What do you think? What do they cause?
Expensive.
Excuse me?
Water pollution.
They are expensive, yes. They are expensive, of course. And if you use too much chemical fertilizers, they cause, what's the word? It's right in front of you.
Pollution.
Pollution.
Yes. And we will study which type of pollution in the lesson ecology. Okay. Now, enough for today, or? Okay. Now, by the way, the lesson is nearly finished. We finished half the lesson because the second half is all about experiments. These experiments are very easy. You don't memorize anything. You only understand them because they come in paper 6. So let's just revise what we took today quickly, and then I'll let you go. We studied the balanced equation for photosynthesis because now you grew up a little bit and you're year 10. Who will remind me what is the balanced chemical equation for photosynthesis?
6 CO2
Yes, carbon
CO2 plus
dioxide and
H2O.
plus
H2O
H2O.
equal
Very good.
glucose,
Yes, C6H12O6 plus
oxygen.
oxygen. Very good. What do I write above the arrow?
Light
A
and
light
chlorophyll.
and chlorophyll.
Energy, chlorophyll.
Light. Very good. And chlorophyll. Good. So in the morning, we have photosynthesis. At night, the plant does not photosynthesize, but the plant is not dead. The plant will do what at night?
Respiration.
Respiration. And also in the morning, it is respiring. But of course, the rate of photosynthesis is more than the rate of respiration at night. Now, how do I balance this equation?
6 before CO2, or before
Yes.
water, or before oxygen.
Yes. Very good. I leave the glucose alone. Okay. And then what did we take next? We studied the different parts of the plant, the root, the leaf, the whatever. This is not important. What's important are the different layers inside the leaf. The leaf is an organ or a tissue or a system. What is the leaf? Remind me.
Organ.
Organ.
It's an organ. It is made up of
Tissues.
different tissues. If they are asking you what are the different tissues, tell them you have at least 3 tissues. The upper and the lower epidermis, this is one tissue, and the tissue in the center is the
Mesophyll.
mesophyll
Mesophyll.
tissue, correct? And you have the transport tissue also in the center of the mesophyll tissue, which includes the xylem and the phloem that we will study very soon. Okay, you have to know how to draw and label the different layers of the leaf. The first layer is the,
Upper
Upper
epidermis.
epidermis.
yes, let me draw it with you. 1 minute. What's this? Okay, we'll draw it and then we will be done. Okay, the first layer, we said, I will draw and you will help me layer. What's the first, help me label. The first layer is called what? Quickly.
Upper
Upper
epidermis.
Okay, do I draw chloroplast in the upper epidermis?
No.
No.
No. And what is this?
Waxy cuticle.
The waxy cuticle. Okay, I'm going to change color and then I'm going to use the color what?
Green.
Green.
Green, because I'm going to draw what?
Palisade.
Palisade mesophyll. Long rectangular cells. This is how you describe it, okay? That are tightly packed and they are filled with
Chloroplast.
chloroplast, because what is their main function?
Photosynthesis.
Site of photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis. And they are arranged just below the sun and they don't overlap and they are perpendicular to the sunlight and they're tightly packed. They are specialized cells that do photosynthesis. Okay. And what is below them?
Spongy mesophyll.
Spongy layer. Very good. And are they tightly packed?
Loosely
No.
packed.
They're irregular and they're loosely packed and they have lots of air spaces to increase the surface area. Blah, blah, blah. And then what's the last layer at the bottom here?
Lower epidermis.
The lower epidermis. Why did I change color? Do they have chlorophyll?
No chlorophyll.
No, they
No.
don't.
The chlorophyll is only found where?
The guard
cells.
The guard cells that open and close. And I think we understand how do they open and close now to control the what? The stomata. This is the stomata, the opening. Very good. Okay. Now, sometimes they will ask you a question. What is the pathway of, or what is the movement, direction of movement of the chloroplast inside the leaf? What answer will you give them? How does the,
Doctor.
yes, this slide is important. The
From the
pathway of
palisade
carbon dioxide.
mesophyll.
From the outside, it will enter where?
Palisade mesophyll.
What did you say? I can't hear you.
The palisade mesophyll.
It will jump directly into the palisade mesophyll?
It
The
will
CO2
enter through the
is in the
guard
air.
cells. Through the
Yes, through the
stomata.
guard cells, through the
Then the
stomata. Very good.
spongy mesophyll بالاير spaces. بعد
Yes,
كده البالاسايد mesophyll.
very good. Unfortunately, you will also lose a mark. Why? How you did not mention?
By diffusion.
Yes, yes. That's the problem. You know all the answers, but you don't know exactly what do these people want, so you don't give them what they want. So the best way to stay on the safe side is just write everything possible so that you don't miss anything. Now, this is also an objective in the supplement, which is the pathway of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere to the chloroplast. Okay, and the pathway here, or the answer wants you to mention, how does the CO2 move? They want you to start with number one. There is a higher concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere compared to the inside of the leaf. So this means that the CO2 will move by diffusion down a concentration gradient. Of course, CO2 is a gas and all gases move by diffusion. So the CO2 will diffuse down a concentration gradient from the outside, from the air, into the inside through the stomata. The word diffusion is a keyword and the word stomata is another keyword. And then it will meet the mesophyll cells, like Selma said, and the air spaces. CO2 will diffuse through the cell wall and cell membrane of mesophyll cells, okay? And then it will reach the palisade mesophyll and it will be used in photosynthesis and diffuse into the chloroplast. The word diffusion is important. And you all gave me correct answers, but none of you mentioned the word diffusion. Okay, just be careful because we don't want to lose 1 mark here, 1 mark here, 1 mark here, and then they all add up. Fine. And then we took the mineral requirements. We said nitrates is needed for the making of what?
Protein.
Protein. Magnesium is needed for the making of
Chlorophyll.
chlorophyll. Phosphorus is needed for the general health of the plant. Phosphorus is mainly needed for cell division, and potassium is needed for healthy fruits and healthy flowers. And I think that's it for today. We have natural fertilizers and we have chemical fertilizers that can be expensive and cause pollution. Any questions? Enough for today? Hello?
Yes.
Okay, also some of you are sending me and asking me if they have any homework. You don't have any homework, but if you want to solve something, finish paper 2 and 4, lesson drugs. I think we finished it in class. If not, finish it. And if you want to do some work, because some of you are bored, I assume, and they want to work, you can solve paper 6, plants. You can, because it's a lot, so you can start if you want to. Okay? Any questions before I go? Hello?
No.
Doctor,
Okay.
how do I
Yes,
study
my
the
dear.
experiments?
No, I did not explain them. I'm going to explain them next time. The
Okay.
experiments, you don't memorize them, you understand them. So please make sure that you attend, whether online or at school, so you understand the experiment. When the experiment is understood, you can answer any question. You don't have to memorize experiments at all. They're nice and easy and they're very clear. You will understand them, you will be able to solve any question.
Okay,
I
thank
did
you.
not explain them yet. If you want to read them and ask me about anything, you're welcome. We will meet, I think we will meet before next Saturday. I'll tell you on the group, I'll see. Okay, go enjoy your holidays. And Happy New Year. Bye-bye.